Hello! In this video, I will show you the dangers that the so-called academic mindset poses to the player who assumes it. Now, before starting, let me explain what I mean by an academic mindset. You can check my Substack for a more detailed explanation and explanation of how mindset affects the player during the game. But when I speak about academic mindset, I mean what I have in mind is a mindset that gives you the impression that you're in total control, that you have perhaps outplayed your opponent, and now you only need to demonstrate your flawless technique. You see, you feel superior, you feel dominant, you feel nothing bad can happen to you because you are dominating, that you play well, and okay, now everything is just a matter of technique. Now, maybe you may even imagine that you feel like Capablanca or like Smyslov, you have this very good technique and you're just winning the game without allowing any counterplay. Nothing can happen and you just win with the flawless technique and you go happy and very confident in your abilities. So this, I call it banal example that I'm going to show you, will show you all the dangers that this academic mindset actually poses. Take a look at the position. Okay, in this position I'm playing with the black pieces and I'm playing an opponent, a weaker opponent that I'm expecting to beat. Now, the position is objectively equal, but you can see that black is actually controlling the d file and this gives him certain advantage, which, as I say, objectively shouldn't be enough for a win, but is definitely a position where black can press and where black has absolutely no risk of losing. And this is the typical situation where it's so easy to fall into the so-called academic mindset. I remember that I was feeling confident and like thinking, okay, now I control everything, I can press forever, I can squeeze this, in the manner of the great masters. And this was 2000. This game was played in 2006 actually, so Magnus Carlsen was not an epitome of a player of squeezing water from stone, but probably I was imagining I was Capablanca or Fischer, that I can demonstrate my superior technique against weaker opposition and weaker resistance. So this feeling of, let's say, complete safety and superiority actually turned off my mind because, as you will soon see, it pretty much malfunctioned when it wasn't supposed to. So white's last move was the move queen c2, and the idea is to go queen c3 and b4. So white's idea is obviously to advance this queenside majority and try to create a passed pawn or at least some activity as compensation for black's control over the d file. So here I played the move queen d3, which is a good move. It exchanges the queens after queen d3, rook d3, and the rook is now quite active on the third rank, attacking the pawn on b3 and also targeting this pawn on a3. And for example, if white pushes b4, then the pawn on a3 will come under attack, for example, after a4, as black fixes the pawn on a3. So white played the move rook b1, and now again I played a good move, rook c3. It's a prophylactic move because after rook b1, white may have ideas like b4, even sacrificing a pawn on a3, but then after b takes a5, creating either counterplay or going after or creating a passed pawn on the c file. So I go rook c3, preventing that move b4 by keeping an eye on the pawn on c4. So far so good. Yeah, my academic mindset doesn't do me any harm so far. So here white played rook b2. He could have started with king f1, I suppose, but he played rook b2, and I thought, aha, this gives me an opportunity with a subtle two-move maneuver to completely immobilize my opponent's queenside structure. So I played rook c1 check, and after king g2 I played rook a1, attacking the pawn on a3, forcing a4, and now was the moment actually when my idea was accomplished. Now I got my 2 pawns control white's 3 pawns, so basically I can I only need to sort of stabilize the position, maybe bring the king to the center, maybe move the rook first, and then I can use my own majority of 4 pawns against 3 on the king side and try to play as if I'm a pawn up, because white cannot create a passed pawn. An additional idea is perhaps to get to the king to the queen side and attack that pawn on b3. But this is, like I said, this is the moment where my academic mindset actually affected my brain so much that the brain stopped working. So in this position, I was considering 2 candidate moves. One was to start going with the king to the center with king f8, centralizing the king f8, king e7, ideally getting to b4. And the other one was the move rook c1. And it's so incredible what happened here, because it's, apart from thinking logically, it's I also felt, and this is the strange moment, I felt that rook c1 should be better and should be played, but I didn't stop and to realize why. And if I did, I would have played that move and the game would have continued. It still could have finished in a draw, but at least I would have got my squeezing position and I could have played on. But feeling it's the correct move, I did not understand why it is the correct move. And without that understanding, I thought, but why should I waste time moving the rook where I can start centralizing the king? So, with this academic mindset, centralize the king, put pressure and so on, I played the awful move king f8. Yeah. Obviously, rook c1 was better. And why was better? We will immediately see, because what happened was that I, after my king f8, I basically completely missed my opponent's next move, which immediately kills the game off and the game ends in a draw in a few moves. Well, my opponent simply played rook c2. And I can't stop c5 anymore. And then what I just achieved, fixing my opponent's queenside structure, now is ruined in a single move, king f8, which was a failure at prophylaxis, but also failure of realizing that my mind was in a state that wasn't appropriate for this type of a technical position. And appropriate mind for a technical position was in fact completely the opposite of the academic mindset, which is to always be on the edge, always to be on the lookout, always to be careful, checking moves at every moment, checking counterplay, preventing counterplay, always being, in a way you could say, unsure that you have complete control. Whereas in the academic mindset, you're like, I call this Pasha style, everything is under control, I don't have to worry, I just make my moves and I win the game. And in fact, this is the completely wrong mindset. The opposite one actually should be used. So to just give you an illustrative line, after rook c1, which was the correct move, controlling still the c pawn, so b4 is not possible because rook c4 will happen, and there is also no rook c2, no c5 ideas. And now basically black can continue with the centralization of the king, something like e5 or king f8, king e7, king d6, and so forth. So this was the correct move. It simply would have stopped white's counterplay, and the game would have continued with, well, decent chances for black to press. Going back to the game, king f8, rook c2, and it's basically game over. I went rook b1, c5 of course, b takes c5, rook c5, rook b3, rook a5, and that's it. The game continued for some moves, but obviously it's a simple draw, and well, that was pretty much about it. I have to admit that, well, unfortunately I have suffered many times due to this academic mindset, but I also have to add that this usually happened when I was not in good form, when in a way I wanted to kind of shelter myself from the bad form by kind of trying to convince myself that, okay, I'm controlling things are going well, and so forth, when in fact they weren't. So I hope this example and the explanations of what was happening in my mind during the game are helpful, and that you perhaps recognize some of these things in your games, that they may happen, And hopefully you just this example helps you avoid those things happening, at least on a more frequent basis, and in fact help you also to apply the correct mindset, which is the opposite of the academic one, especially in technical positions when trying to convert an advantage. So with this unfortunate and bit sad example, I will conclude today's analysis. Again, I will politely ask you to smash that subscribe button if you like the content. You can check my Substack for a more detailed read on the mindset in chess. And yeah, I would like again thank you for watching, for the support, for the contacts, for the comments, everything. So thank you, subscribe, read, like, comment, and I'll see you again pretty soon. Take care.